The red dust of Colony World X-227 swirled around Staff Sergeant Tom Miller's boots as he walked his patrol route. The setting sun cast long shadows across the rocky terrain, making the lonely border post seem even more isolated than usual. His rifle swung easily at his side, and his armor's cooling system worked overtime against the planet's harsh climate. Tom checked his wrist display again. 2 more hours until the shift ended. He had walked this same route hundreds of times in the past 6 months, and nothing interesting ever happened. The border disputes between human colonies and alien territories rarely reached this far out. That's when he saw it, a streak of fire cutting across the darkening sky. "Command, this is Miller," he reported into his comm. "Possible meteor or debris entering atmosphere in Sector 7. Static was his only answer. The magnetic storms must be acting up again. The object crashed about half a mile away, sending up a plume of red dust. Training and curiosity fought a brief battle in Tom's mind. Protocol said to call for backup and wait. But with communications down and night approaching, whatever crashed might not survive until morning. Well, he muttered to himself, better to ask forgiveness than permission. It took him 15 minutes to reach the crash site. The object wasn't a meteor. It was an escape pod, unlike any human design he'd seen before. Its smooth pearl-white surface was cracked and scorched from entry, but still somehow beautiful. Alien writing curved along its side in flowing script that seemed to shimmer in the fading light. Tom's helmet sensors detected breathable air, but warned of high temperatures. He approached carefully, rifle ready but not raised. The pod's hatch had partially opened in the crash, and a soft blue light pulsed from within. "Hello," he called out. "This is Staff Sergeant Miller of the Earth Defense Force. Do you need assistance?" A weak sound came from inside, something between a whimper and a musical note. Tom made his decision. He pulled the emergency medical kit from his back and moved closer. Inside the pod, he found her. An alien, but not like the aggressive species he'd been trained to fight. Her skin had a faint luminescent glow, like moonlight on water. She appeared mostly humanoid, except for the patterns of light that flowed beneath her skin and the slightly too large eyes that looked up at him in fear and pain. She was injured. A deep cut ran along her arm, seeping silvery blood, and she held herself in a way that suggested broken ribs. Her clothing was simple, but made of material that seemed to shift colors as it moved. "It's okay," Tom said softly, setting his rifle down and holding up his empty hands. "I'm here to help." The alien girl watched him with those large eyes, then spoke in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "Help? Yes. Please." Her English was accented but clear. Tom's training kicked in. He started treating her wounds with the med kit, noticing how her silvery blood seemed to respond to the bandages differently than human blood would. As he worked, she managed to speak again. They are coming." "Who's coming?" Tom asked, securing the last bandage. "The razors," she whispered, fear making her glow dim. "They must not find me. The things I've seen. What they're doing to people." A distant sound made them both freeze, the distinctive hum of alien engines. Tom looked at his patient, then at his wrist display showing the colony's patrol schedules. No one would check on him for hours. Protocol said to report any alien contact immediately. Protocol said not to get involved in disputes between alien species. Protocol said a lot of things. But Tom Miller hadn't become a soldier to follow protocols. He'd become a soldier to protect those who needed protection. "Can you walk?" he asked, already planning the quickest route to the abandoned mining tunnels. She nodded weakly. "Then let's get you somewhere safe," he said, helping her up. "I'm Tom." "Lara," she responded, her glow brightening slightly. "Thank you, Tom." The sound of engines grew louder as they slipped away into the gathering darkness, leaving the ruined escape pod behind. Tom's boots crunched softly on the rocky ground as he helped Lyra move through the darkness. Her gentle glow made it tricky to stay hidden, but she was trying her best to dim it. The distant hum of the razor ships grew louder, then softer, as they searched the area in a grid pattern. "We need to move faster," Tom whispered, checking his tactical display. "Those ships are getting closer to our position." Lyra nodded, biting back a sound of pain. Her ribs were clearly hurting her, but she kept moving. The determination in her large eyes impressed Tom. He'd seen trained soldiers give up under less pressure. A bright light suddenly swept over the rocks ahead of them. Tom pulled Lyra behind a large boulder just in time. A Razor scout ship passed overhead, its dark metal hull blocking out the stars. Tom got his first good look at their hunters. The ship's design was all sharp angles and threatening spikes, living up to their species' name. "Why are they hunting you?" Tom asked once the ship moved away. They needed to rest for a moment, and he needed information. Lyra's glow flickered with what Tom was learning to recognize as distress. "I worked as a medical researcher," she explained, her musical voice barely above a whisper. "The Razors hired our facility to test new medical treatments." But they lied. They weren't developing medicines. She shuddered. They were testing weapons. Horrible weapons, on innocent test subjects. Tom's jaw tightened. He'd seen enough war crimes in his time to know where this was going. "You got proof?" She nodded. "Everything. Records, test results, video footage, all stored in here." She tapped the side of her head. "My people can store data in our biological matrix. That's why they want me so badly. They can't let this evidence reach anyone important." Another search beam swept nearby. They pressed themselves against the rocky ground, hardly daring to breathe. The beam passed over their hiding spot 3 times before moving on. "The mining tunnels are half a mile ahead," Tom said, checking his map. "If we can reach them." A high-pitched whine cut through the air. Tom recognized that sound, ships entering the atmosphere. Many ships. "They're calling in reinforcements," Lyra said, her voice trembling. "Please, you should leave me. This isn't your fight. They'll kill you if they find you helping me." Tom looked at her, then at his rifle, then at the stars where more Razor ships were appearing as bright points of light. He thought about his comfortable bunk back at base, about regulations and protocols, about the smart thing to do. Then he thought about all the times in history when people had looked away, made excuses, followed orders instead of their conscience. "My grandfather used to tell me stories," Tom said, checking his weapons charge, "about people who stood by and did nothing when they saw others suffering. He said that's how evil wins, not because bad people do bad things, but because good people do nothing." He helped Lyra to her feet. "This became my fight the moment I found you. Now those tunnels have some old security systems that still work. If we can reach the main control room, we might be able to throw them off our trail." Lyra's glow brightened slightly. Tom was learning this meant hope or happiness. "Your species is strange, Tom Miller. Any other soldier would have turned me in or left me behind." "Yeah." "Well," Tom grinned, "humans are kind of famous for doing the unexpected. Come on, we've got about 10 minutes before those reinforcements get their search pattern organized." They moved out again, staying low and using the terrain for cover. Above them, more Razor ships filled the sky like hungry predators. The race to the mining tunnels had begun, and Tom knew that dawn was still many hours away. But he'd made his choice. Sometimes a soldier had to decide what was right, not just what was ordered. And right now, what was right was making sure this brave alien girl lived to expose the truth. The old mining facility loomed before them, its metal walls dark against the night sky. Tom helped Lyra through a partially hidden side entrance, rusted but still usable. The tunnel beyond was pitch black until Lyra's natural glow lit up the space around them with a soft blue light. "Nice built-in flashlight you've got there," Tom said, trying to keep her spirits up as they moved deeper into the facility. His helmet's sensors showed the air was stale but breathable. "It's stronger when I'm healthy," Lyra explained, holding her injured side. "Right now, it's weak, like me." Tom shook his head. "You crossed half a mile of rough terrain with broken ribs. That's not weak in my book." They reached a security door. Tom pulled out his multi-tool and got to work on the old control panel. This place was abandoned 5 years ago when they found richer mineral deposits to the north. But the main systems still have backup power. The door creaked open, revealing what had once been a break room. Dusty tables and chairs were scattered around, and old food dispensers lined one wall. Tom helped Lyra to a chair and started checking the room's exits. "We should be safe here for a while," he said, securing the doors. "The facility's walls are lined with minerals that block most scans. That's why they built it this way, to protect their mining secrets." Lyra's glow pulsed weakly. "I need to rest, just for a moment." She looked at Tom with those large, expressive eyes. "You're a combat medic, aren't you? I noticed how you treated my wounds earlier." Tom nodded, pulling out his med kit again. 4 years of training. Though I have to admit, they didn't cover alien physiology. "Let me guide you," Lyra said. "My people heal differently than humans, but your medicines can still help." Together, they worked on her injuries. Tom followed Lyra's instructions, fascinated by how her silvery blood seemed to react to the treatments. Her glow brightened slightly as the pain eased. "In my culture," she said as Tom finished changing her bandages, "we believe that helping others makes our inner light stronger. I can see now that humans have this light too, even if it's not visible like ours." A distant boom made them both freeze. The razors were getting closer. "They're using sonic mappers," Lyra explained, fear creeping into her voice. "They'll find us eventually." Tom moved to the room's ancient computer terminal. "Maybe not. Like I said, this place still has some tricks left." His fingers flew over the keyboard, bringing old systems back to life. The mining company used sonic deflectors to protect their equipment. "If I can get them running." Another boom, closer this time. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Tell me about these razors," Tom said as he worked, trying to keep Lyra's mind off their hunters. "Why do they get away with these weapons tests?" "They're powerful," Lyra explained. "They sell weapons to half the galaxy. Many governments look the other way because they depend on razor technology." Her glow dimmed with sadness. "My people pride themselves on staying neutral in galactic politics, but seeing those test subjects, how could I stay neutral after that?" The terminal suddenly lit up green. Tom grinned. "Got it. Deflectors are online. That should scramble their sonic mapping." As if in response, the booming stopped. They heard the frustrated screech of razor ships overhead, their sensors now giving them false readings. "That won't stop them forever," Tom said, checking his rifle charge. "But it gives us time to plan our next move." He pulled up the facility's layout on the terminal. "There's a long-range communications array 3 levels down. If we can reach it, they'll be watching for any transmissions," Lyra warned. "True, but sometimes the direct approach isn't the best one." Tom smiled. "How do you feel about learning some old human military tactics?" Lyra's glow brightened with interest. "Tell me more, Tom Miller." Above them, the razor ships continued their search, but for now, in their dusty sanctuary, human and alien sat together, planning their next move in the dark. The hours passed slowly in the old mining facility. Tom sat near the door with his rifle, while Lyra rested in a corner where her glow would be less visible. The razor ships still circled overhead, but the sonic deflectors kept them confused and searching in the wrong places. "Tell me about your world," Lyra said softly, breaking the long silence. "I've only seen human military bases. What are your people really like?" Tom smiled, keeping his voice low. "We're not that different from your people, I think. We work, we dream, we try to make things better for our kids." He checked the door's seal again. "Though I have to admit, we don't glow." "But you do," Lyra insisted. "Not like my people, but in your actions. When you found me, you could have followed your rules. Instead, you chose to help." Her glow pulsed gently. "That's a kind of light too." "Maybe," Tom said. "But sometimes I think we humans mess up more than we help." Wars, pollution, hatred. We've got plenty of darkness too. Lyra shifted carefully, mindful of her healing ribs. Let me tell you what I saw in those razor labs. Her voice grew serious. They had test subjects from 12 different species. Rich, poor, warriors, scholars. Suffering brings out the true nature of people. She continued, her glow dimming with a painful memory. The strong ones, the ones who looked like natural leaders, they broke first. But there were others, simple people. A farmer who shared his food. A clerk who told stories to keep spirits up. A janitor who helped tend the sick. Tom listened intently as she spoke. Those simple acts of kindness, Lyra said, they were like lights in the darkness. That's when I knew I had to save the evidence, no matter the cost. A distant explosion made them both tense, but it was far away. The razors were getting frustrated. Humans aren't perfect, Tom said after a while. But we're stubborn. When we see something wrong, some of us just can't look away. My grandmother used to say that's our best and worst quality. Tell me about her, Lyra said, clearly interested in learning more. She was a doctor in a poor area, worked 18-hour days sometimes. People would ask her why she didn't move to a rich hospital, make more money. Tom smiled at the memory. She always said, someone has to help. Might as well be me. Lyra's glow brightened. She sounds like she had a strong inner light. Yeah, she did. Tom checked his tactical display. She's the reason I became a medic. Wanted to help people like she did. And now you're helping an alien fugitive, Lyra said with a musical laugh. I don't think that was in your training. No, but I bet Grandma would approve. Tom grinned. She always said help comes in unexpected packages. Their conversation was interrupted by a new sound. The whine of shuttle engines, closer than before. They're changing tactics, Tom said, moving to the computer terminal. Looking for facility entrances now. Lyra stood carefully, her movements stronger after the rest. We can't stay here much longer. No, we can't. Tom pulled up the facility map again. But I've been thinking. These tunnels connect to an old water processing plant. If we can reach it, the razors would expect us to go up, not down. Lyra finished, catching on quickly. Exactly. Sometimes the best path isn't the obvious one. Tom checked his rifle charge one last time. Ready for another walk. Lyra's glow pulsed with determination. With you? Always. As they prepared to move out, Tom realized something had changed. This wasn't just about saving someone anymore. Somehow, in these quiet hours of sharing stories, he'd found a friend. And humans, as history showed, would do anything to protect their friends. Tom and Lyra moved carefully through the dimly lit mining tunnels, heading toward the water processing plant. Her glow was stronger now after the rest, casting soft blue shadows on the rusty walls. They'd been lucky so far, but luck never lasted forever in war. The sound of boots on metal made them both freeze. Multiple contacts, Tom whispered, checking his tactical display. Human signatures. A patrol must have picked up our trail. They pressed themselves against the wall in a dark corner. Tom's mind raced. He hadn't expected his own people to find them so quickly. Sergeant Miller, a voice called out. We know you're down here. Command's been trying to reach you for hours. Tom recognized the voice. Lieutenant Ray from his own unit. 4 more soldiers appeared behind Ray, their rifles ready but not raised. It's okay, Tom whispered to Lyra. These are my people. But something felt wrong. The patrol's formation was too loose, too casual for a search mission. Tom stepped out, keeping Lyra behind him. Lieutenant, quite a coincidence finding you down here. Ray smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We picked up the razor ships on radar. Figured you might be involved when you missed check-in. He looked past Tom at Lyra's glowing form. I see you found something interesting. She needs protection, Tom said carefully. She has evidence of razor war crimes. War crimes? Ray laughed. Is that what she told you? He took a step forward. The Razors said she stole valuable military secrets. They're offering a nice reward for her return. Tom's blood ran cold. You're working with them. Smart boy. Ray's smile vanished. The Razors have been good partners. They pay well for cooperation. Now hand her over, and we can all profit from this. No. Tom's voice was steel. You haven't seen what they do to people. The tests, the torture. I've seen enough to know which side pays better. Ray cut him off. Don't be stupid, Miller. There's enough reward money to make us all rich. Tom felt Lyra trembling behind him. Her glow had dimmed to almost nothing in fear. Last chance, Sergeant, Ray said. Take the money, or take a bullet. Your choice. Tom moved slowly, as if considering. Then, in one swift motion, he threw a flashbang grenade from his belt. The explosion of light and sound filled the tunnel. Tom grabbed Lyra's hand and ran, turning down a side passage as shots rang out behind them. Traitors. Ray's voice echoed after them. The Razors will pay us double if she's dead. They ran through the darkness, with only Lyra's dim glow lighting the way. Tom's mind worked frantically. They'd lost the element of surprise, and now they had both human and Razor forces hunting them. There, Tom spotted a maintenance shaft. Down here. They climbed down the ladder into the lower levels. The air was damp. They were getting closer to the water plant. I'm sorry, Lyra said as they caught their breath. I've brought this trouble to your people. Those aren't my people, Tom growled. Real soldiers protect the innocent. They don't sell them out for money. More shots echoed above them. They had to keep moving. The water plant is through there, Tom said, pointing down a dark tunnel. But they'll expect that now. We need a new plan. Lyra's glow brightened slightly with determination. Then we make one. Together. Tom checked his remaining ammunition. Not much, but it would have to do. Above them, he could hear Ray organizing search parties. Soon, they'd have human soldiers and Razor forces covering every exit. But Tom had one advantage they didn't. He was fighting for something more than money. He was fighting for what was right. Together, he agreed, and they moved deeper into the darkness, hunted from all sides but not beaten. Not yet. Water dripped steadily in the dark tunnels beneath the mining facility. Tom and Lyra crouched behind old processing equipment, listening to the sounds of boots on metal grating above them. The betrayal by Tom's fellow soldiers had forced them deep into the facility's lowest levels. Your genetic data, Tom whispered, checking his tactical display. How exactly does it work? Lyra's glow pulsed softly as she explained. My people can store information in our cell structure. The evidence is part of me now. Videos, documents, test results. All we need is a way to transmit it. And that's why they want you dead so badly, Tom said. There's no way to destroy the evidence without killing you. A search beam swept past their hiding spot. They held still until it moved on. The main communication array is compromised, Tom continued. But there might be another way. He pointed to an old map on his tactical display. This facility used to send data about water quality to the central colony. The transmitter should still be here somewhere. Even if we find it, Lyra said, the Razors will detect any transmission. Tom smiled. Unless we hide it in something else. He gestured at the machinery around them. These systems still automatically send water testing data every hour. Old equipment, low security. If we can splice your data into that. Lyra's glow brightened with hope. They wouldn't notice until it's too late. Gunfire suddenly erupted from above. Ray's voice echoed through the facility. They're down here somewhere. Check every level. Tom and Lyra moved quickly through the water treatment area, staying low. Old pipes and tanks provided cover as they searched for the transmission equipment. Lyra's glow helped them navigate, but it also made them vulnerable if anyone looked their way. There, Tom pointed to a rusty control panel. That's what we need. They reached the panel just as heavy footsteps approached their level. Tom worked quickly, pulling out wires and reconnecting them. How will you encode it? Lyra asked anxiously. I'm not, Tom replied, continuing to work. You are. Your people's data storage is organic, right? So is human DNA. The system won't know the difference between your genetic data and regular biological test samples. Lyra's eyes widened. That's brilliant. Thanks. Now we just need to. Tom stopped as his tactical display lit up with warnings. Multiple contacts. They're coming from both directions. The sound of boots grew closer. They were trapped. How much longer? Lyra asked. 2 minutes to rig the connection. Then maybe 3 minutes to transmit. Tom checked his rifle. We'll never have that much time. Lyra stood straighter, her glow steady and bright. Yes, we will. Because you'll buy me that time. Tom looked at her in surprise. What are you thinking? Your grandmother was right, Lyra said. Someone has to help. Might as well be me. She pointed to a large water tank. Those tanks are lined with the same minerals that block scans. If I hide in there, I can draw them away. Tom finished. He didn't like it, but it was their only chance. The footsteps were almost upon them. Tom quickly helped Lyra into the tank, making sure she could breathe through an old air pipe. 5 minutes, he said. No matter what you hear, don't come out until the transmission is done. Lyra caught his hand. Tom, thank you for everything. Thank me when we win, he said with a grin. Then he closed the tank and moved away from the transmission area, making sure to leave obvious tracks. As he took position behind some pipes, Tom heard Ray's voice getting closer. He checked his rifle one last time and took a deep breath. Time to show these traitors why you don't bet against a human fighting for what's right. Over there, Ray's voice echoed through the tunnels. Miller's tracks lead this way. Tom fired a burst from behind his cover, forcing the corrupt soldiers to dive for safety. The sound echoed deafeningly in the enclosed space. 4 minutes left. He just had to keep them busy while Lyra transmitted the evidence. You're fighting for the wrong side, Miller, Ray shouted. The Razors are coming down here themselves now. You can't win. Tom moved to a new position, staying unpredictable. Funny thing about humans, Lieutenant. We do our best work when we can't win. He threw his last flashbang grenade, using the confusion to change position again. 3 minutes left. Above, he could hear the distinctive sound of Razor troops entering the facility. Their heavy, mechanical footsteps rang on the metal floors. Tom's tactical display showed enemies converging from all directions. He was running out of places to go, but that was fine. He didn't need to win. He just needed to buy time. A shot grazed his armor, leaving a scorching mark. Tom returned fire, his shots precise and controlled. 2 corrupt soldiers went down, clutching non-lethal wounds. He wasn't going to kill his own people, even if they were traitors. 2 minutes left. The first Razor warrior appeared at the tunnel entrance. Tall, covered in sharp-edged armor that looked like a mass of blades. Its red sensor eyes scanned the area. Life signs detected, it announced in a grinding mechanical voice. Target location acquired. Tom pitched his last remaining grenade, not at the Razor, but at the pipes above it. Steam burst out with a deafening hiss, filling the tunnel with hot vapor. The Razor's sensors would have trouble with that. 1 minute left. It's over, Miller. Ray had worked his way closer. Give up the alien. And maybe the Razors will let you live. You know what your problem is, Ray. Tom called back, firing another burst to keep them back. You never learned the difference between being alive and living with yourself. 30 seconds. Multiple Razor warriors were pushing through the steam now. Their armor sparked with energy weapons charging up. Tom's rifle clicked empty. Last chance, Miller, Ray shouted. Tom smiled. No, Lieutenant. This is your last chance to do the right thing. 0. A high-pitched tone suddenly filled the facility. The transmission was complete. Tom laughed out loud. What's so funny? Ray demanded. Count down from 5, Tom said. You're about to find out. Right on cue, the facility's old speakers crackled to life. Lyra's transmission hadn't just gone to the colony. She'd routed it through the facility's own communication system, too. The sounds of screaming filled the tunnels, recordings from the Razor labs. Then came the test footage, the documentation, the proof of their crimes, all broadcasting at maximum volume. The Razor warriors froze. Their leaders would already be receiving the transmitted data. The evidence was out, spreading across every channel Lyra could access. "You lose," Tom said to Ray, whose face had gone pale at the sounds from the labs. Suddenly, new alarms filled the air. The colony's defense force had picked up the transmission. Dropships were incoming. Proper military this time, not corrupt patrols. The Razor warriors began retreating. Without their leverage, without the secrecy of their weapons program, they had no choice. Lyra emerged from her hiding place, her glow bright and triumphant. She looked at Ray and his remaining men. "Your payment from the Razors will not come," she said simply. "But my people will remember who helped and who hindered the truth." Within minutes, the facility was swarming with colonial troops. The Razors had fled, their crimes exposed. Ray and his corrupt soldiers were under arrest. And Tom stood with Lyra as she shared her story with the authorities. Human and alien, soldier and scientist, two people who chose to do what was right instead of what was easy. "What will you do now?" he asked her. Lyra's glow pulsed warmly. "Help make things better. After all, someone has to. Might as well be me." Tom smiled. His grandmother would have liked her.